to the end of the world, in the time of the end, in the book of Daniel. And how do you know that you are in the time of the end? What end is it talking about? The apostles was talking about the last days, even in their time, and they were accurate and they were correct. But they were in the beginning of the last days. Okay. According to the visions that were showed to Daniel and Ezra and Habakkuk and other prophets about the end, it was an extensive end that was drawn out. But the end definitely began with Esau, starting from when Esau was got kingdoms that was going to be controlling the planet, okay, under Alexander and the Greek. But it wasn't going to end there, it began there. Okay, then after that, you had to have the Romans, and then the Edomites, all the way up to the kingdom that is coded in Scripture, called Babylon the Great. That's not coded, but what's coded is that it's not. People to this day don't know Babylon the Great is talking about America. Oh, they tried. They willingly are ignorant of that fact, that Babylon the Great is talking about America, because they don't want to admit that America is being controlled by Satan. So it's a bunch of clues that the Lord had given to let us know that when the end will be. Ezra was complaining about the time, complaining about why it was taking so long. One of the things that the angel told the prophet Ezra is to look at the signs. And when you see the majority of the signs that have already passed, know that is only a little bit of time left. He gave Ezra a couple of visions. Y'all should be able to know this. I'm briefing this. I'm giving you a recap because we went through this in the Sabbath. He gave Ezra a couple of visions and similitudes. He showed Ezra a great storm, and then after the storm was complete, just drops of rain. And he asked him, what is more, the storm or the rain? The drops of rain. Letting them know that the majority of the stuff had already passed. Another thing that he told the prophet Ezra was that when you see the old world pass away, that was another clue. That they call it the modern era. Okay, when you see that the modern era is coming in, know that this is the very same time that the highest will begin to visit the earth. Okay, so he was letting them know what was going to happen. That officially happened around the last so-called ancient civilization that was a superpower, that was in power, was known as the Ottoman Turks. Once the Ottoman Turks had fell, once that kingdom had fell, this was the modern era that was basically coming in with a modern kingdom, which was going to be America, coming out of Great Britain. It was Britain at that time as well that took down the Turks. That this would be the very same time that the highest would begin to visit the earth. Then as we were recapping and we was going through everything yesterday, the Lord gave other information where he said that many shall run to and fro and knowledge shall increase. When we start going into these things, again, for thousands of years, it was the horse and buggy. It was the animal-driven form of transportation, and this was a form of transportation for thousands of years on how people was going back and forth and getting from one place to another. Now, granted, in that those thousands of years, there were trails, so they had a sort of a system of roads because the animals going back and forth, it creates trails. Okay, so, but then it changed. Okay, it all began to change. It started to change with the railroads, and the cars, and the ships. And the planes, okay, planes, trains, and automobiles. Now, changing in what capacity? Because the ship travel goes back to the ancient times, okay. But what we're talking about is mass transit. Mass transit means large groups of people being transported from one particular area to the next particular area. In order for that to be done, technology had to increase, knowledge had to increase. You had to be able to create these vehicles of transportation that will enable that, okay? So like I said, that's where the trains and the steam engine, the first trains was actually still pulled by, or the first rails were still pulled by animals. You had animals that was pulling rail cars, okay, in the form of buggies, but it was a faster way of transportation because they were pulling it on a rail with the wheel. But then they developed the engine, and that's the knowledge that's increasing. You had the steam engine, then you had the locomotive, and then they was able to take these engines and put them in different methods and forms of transportation, put them in ships, and then build bigger ships. Okay, all this happening around the 19th century, 20th century, 21st century. So these 300 years. Same thing when the knowledge was being increased. So now when you look at the way prophecy works, the scripture says here a little, there a little. That's how you understand doctrine, God's will. That's how you get taught knowledge. We understand from the book of Daniel that the Lord said that they will be given into his hand for a time, and dividing the time. That time broke down to 350 years. That goes right in line from the slave trade in 1619 all the way up to when the Israelites were supposed to be released out of captivity in 1969. That's 350 years. That goes right in line with the rest of the prophecies on when the Lord will begin to work. When he told Ezra he will begin to work. When you read the book of Exodus, the scriptures tell you that the Lord began to work because he heard the cry of the children of Israel, and he had respect unto them, and he went down to deliver them. So all of this going and coinciding with the children of Israel actually being in hard bondage goes right along with the scriptures. Everything is right on target. Everything is going the way it's supposed to be going. Nothing is out of whack. Do everybody understand that? Everybody see that, right? So for the planes, the trains, the automobiles, for all that to be coming around at the same time that you, within that 350 years where the Lord will begin to work, is showing you that everything is right on schedule. Who gave him this knowledge? God gave him this knowledge. Why did God give him this knowledge? This is an amazing wealth of knowledge. For man to be able to fly, okay, is a miracle. You may be used to it, but it's a miracle, okay? And this is a form of transportation that has not existed for thousands of years. For the last couple of last hundreds of years, more than a couple. This is just something that is newly introduced to the planet. Do everybody understand that? So it's showing you that the Lord is speeding up time. For thousands of years, it's been going slow. A horse pulling a buggy, okay? Then now you got a Ferrari. So this is showing you that the Lord is true to his word when he said he's speeding up the time. Unless he cut the time short, no flesh shall be saved. A lot is happening in a short period of time because this is the very same time where the Lord will begin to deliver the nation of Israel, and he will begin to visit them that dwelled upon the earth. The Lord told the prophets from the beginning to keep a lot of this stuff secret because, again, even the stuff is held from the angels. The scripture says that the angels desired to look into certain things and were not able. Okay. Christ said out of his own mouth, no man knoweth the time. Okay. The purpose of this is what? That Satan is the adversary. He's created for the time of evil. He has a plan that he has to implement and execute. And the Lord gave him an amazing amount of intelligence. He don't want an adversary that's easy to beat. Okay. Like the artificial intelligence that they create. When you got to play a computer and you're playing chess, you got to play the computer. Okay, you want to put it on hard, you don't want to put it on easy. You know, who wants somebody that you're going to just damn stomp out? Okay, you want a challenge. So the whole point is that the Lord wants this to be a challenge. Good is created against evil. Everybody understand that? So he wants the evil laboring to try to find out how to overcome the good. And he want the good laboring to overcome the evil. Do everybody understand that? So it was all kept a secret because it's not for Satan to know, okay, what is all the details so he could just strategize against it and be victorious. Do everybody understand that? Satan's plan from the very beginning was to get everybody to worship him. That's clear from the Garden of Eden. That's the plan. The plan is that in paradise, Adam and Eve and the generations that came of them was obedient to God. What the Lord said is, when I first created the world, no man spoke against me. They all was obedient to God. Satan's job was to draw them away from God and get them to worship him. In order to do that, he just couldn't just come and say, hey, I'm Satan. So that's not how he came. What he came is, he came with speaking against God, but he came speaking against God with an ideology, with an idea. And the idea was that we don't need God. Did God tell you this? When you go back to the understanding of the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Well, he's only telling you that to keep you back and hold you back. Your destiny should be in your own hands. God knows that if you do this, which is take this philosophy, they call it the fruit, eat of the fruit of the knowledge of the tree of good and evil, and they, some people think it's a literal fruit. Some people think that Eve ate an apple, and all hell broke loose from there. People think a snake is coming out of an apple. But it was a philosophy. Okay, it was an ideology. It was an idea, and what the idea was, take control of your own destiny. You can be as God. If you are as God, you don't need God, because you're as God. There's no difference between him and you. You know good and evil. Take control of your own destiny. This has been Satan's plan from the very beginning. So when the woman seen that the tree was desired to make one wise, it would give you wisdom, this ideology, it would give you power. She desired that power and she desired that wisdom. Do everybody understand that? This is the same system. This is the same thing that Satan is pushing all the way throughout the ages. That's the same thing he's pushing. This is one of the things that the Lord warned us against. That when we get in our land and we build goodly houses and we sitting around in wealth and we just as powerful as we can be, he said, make sure, take heed to yourselves that you don't say my own might and my own power have gotten me these things. Okay, because that's the opposition. That's the idea that Satan has put out there. You are in control of your own success. Okay, right? All right, so with all that said, now we're going to go to 2nd Ezra, because we're going to pick up from where we left off. We're going to go to 2nd Ezra chapter, where we left off at. 2nd Ezra chapter 11 yes, and 1. All right, we're going to pick that up because we were talking about the 3 heads, and you're going to see how all of that, what I just said, goes into these 3 heads. Okay, so let's start at 2nd Ezra chapter 11, verse 1. Read that, please.
Then saw I a dream.
Okay, so this is now way before, this stuff is written way before these kingdoms came into power, way before the Romans even came into power. Okay, to show you the accuracy that we are dealing with God who declares the end from the very beginning in detail. Okay, read it again.
Then saw I a dream, and behold, there came up from the sea an eagle.
Okay, so this eagle represents the white man in his kingdoms, is the emblem, the symbol that he has for his kingdoms, because that's, he's swift as an eagle as far as conquering and taking over. So he uses this emblem, okay, in the beginning of this. So from the sea, meaning this kingdom arose from all nations that was on the planet Earth. This is the last Gentile nation that's going to rule, which is the Edomites, the white man. Okay, after the white man falls, which is going to be, in the time period that we living in. Do everybody understand that? They cannot pass this time. They cannot pass it. Okay, this is it. This is all the time that the Lord gave them. Century after century after century. What century are we in? Please tell me y'all know what century we in, please. Please. Huh? Yeah, they can't pass it. They can't pass it. Okay? They cannot pass. This is they have reached their end. And this is why it was so important where they were asking Ezra about the time of the end. Again, Habakkuk said the vision is for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. He told Daniel that the vision is for the time of the end. Okay, so within the Ezra was also informed that Esau is the end of the world. But Esau had he had a drawn out extensive kingdom, starting from the Greeks all the way. So is it going to be anything after this? Esau hope it is. Satan hope it is working through Esau, but there's nothing after this. How long will this continue? Will it continue for hundreds of more years? Nope. Nope. Because according to the way that the prophecies are lining up, the hundreds of years that it took to cause you to go to and fro and for knowledge to increase, the countdown began when you took the Israelites as slaves and started bringing them over to this new world in 1619. That's when the countdown begins. Do everybody understand that?